because I know you're big on Bitcoin, and that's okay. I've been watching it since it was $7 a coin. But here's a big difference between them. I brought my image of a Bitcoin because there is no image. It's an algorithm, right? It's a formula. So they had to create something so that people would think that it was something. And you tell me how much these two look alike.
Very similar. Yeah.
Why? Why are cryptocurrencies depicted as mostly gold or silver or platinum? Why aren't they green or orange or red or any other color? It's because this is in our DNA. Gold and silver are in our DNA. Now, we've been trained away from them, but here's the big difference. It takes labor and energy to mine these. But then, particularly with gold, which is the primary currency metal, it's indestructible, which means that in any form, it can be melted down, changed around, and used in every single sector of the global economy. So this energy gets to be used over again and again and again and again and again. This takes energy, but you can't reuse that energy.
Okay.
It doesn't hold it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I think of what Michael Saylor speaks to a lot in that Bitcoin, because of the mining process, because it takes harnessing of electricity to produce the Bitcoin, proof of work. That's why they call it mining. It's digitizing, this is Saylor's words, and I might not get it exactly right, but you're effectively digitizing that energy. And then you're trading that energy for a good or a service or a currency or whatever, so that you're swapping energy for energy. So it's referred to as digital energy. And I will say, here at the What is Money show, we are Bitcoin advocates, not anti-gold or silver by any means.
Right. And I'm not anti-cryptos. I'm just saying be intelligent, right? And make sure you're properly diversified.
Yeah, well, I'm anti-crypto. I'm only an advocate of Bitcoin. All the other cryptocurrencies, I think that they are solutions looking for a problem at best, or scams at worst. And I think most of them are flat out scams.
I think so too.
They're pre-mined, they're being dumped on people. They pay celebrities and people to promote them. And it's typically insiders who had access to the pre-mined or a pre-release, whatever. And so cryptos are most often pump and dumps, and Bitcoin is referred to as a pump because nobody can control the Bitcoin supply. There was no pre-mine. Satoshi started mining coins. Those coins have never moved. Michael Saylor refers to Bitcoin as a gift to humanity that Satoshi left us with. It's referred to as the only digital commodity. The rest are either replications of that, which the market is going to typically has chosen, quite literally, Bitcoin as the true scarce digital monetary instrument, and replications of Bitcoin, like other proof of work coins, don't seem to have, well, they quite literally don't have the market share. And so being referred to as like the discovery of scarcity, we're not going to discover that twice due to the finite supply of Bitcoin. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you, because you said then that you view it as a transition of energy, which I totally understand because of gold. But how does that energy be? I'm trying to learn too, because we need to be open to everything. And so, certainly you know more about Bitcoin than I do, although I've been paying attention to it for, all these really since about 2010. So it was $7 a coin, something like that. So how does that transfer of energy compared to this transfer of energy?
Not exactly sure, but I guess what comes to mind is that Bitcoin, so I think of a Peter Schiff kind of dialogue here, where he refers to Bitcoin as having no intrinsic value. And what I hear when he says that it has no utility value, or more so no industrial value. It's purely monetary. And what I
Right.
think is
I would agree with,
Yeah.
that's kind of how I'm thinking of it
Where
as
gold,
well.
you could use gold to wrap a spaceship, protect it from radiation. You could jewelry, electronics. So gold has two value propositions, or it's doing
Well, it's
two
got
things.
many value because it depends on the industry.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
But it's doing two things at one time. It serves as a monetary instrument as well as an industrial metal.
Absolutely.
And with Bitcoin, Bitcoin is purely monetary. It has no industrial use case. The industry around Bitcoin mining is effectively incentivizing our civilization to figure out how to harness cheaper electricity and to build faster computing devices. Because of the way the mining reward is designed, as more miners come online and the hash rate increases, there's something referred to as the difficulty adjustment, which effectively locks the Bitcoin in time. If every power plant on planet Earth and every human on planet Earth today plugged in a Bitcoin miner, what would happen is the blocks getting written onto the public ledger, and I might not be saying this exactly right, but generally this is how it works. As the blocks start coming in faster, the hashing algorithm is going to make the number, the numerical string of letters and numbers, larger so that it's harder to guess that number, get the mining reward, get paid the transaction fees, and then get the new issuance of Bitcoin. In the digital age and with the global economy that we are living in today, what is very unique and a first for human history is Bitcoin is the first thing that's informational or invisible that gets moved as a bearer instrument. You give me that gold coin, it leaves your possession, it goes into mine. It's 100,000 years ago, and let's say we're cave people, and I tell you, hey, there's a fishing hole down there, there's a river, you can procure some fish, and you can pick some berries in this patch or whatever. I look at that as like a data packet. I give you that information, but I also maintain a copy of it. And so what Satoshi did, and what is a first, is he created something that's informational, that's a bearer instrument. I send you Bitcoin, it leaves my possession, it goes to yours. And what a lot of the Bitcoiners, including myself, think is so special about Bitcoin, and now I'm not anti-gold by any means, but what's so special about Bitcoin is it's in the world in which we live in today, in order for the economy to scale globally, you can't send gold across the seas. Let's say I wanted to go buy a villa in Italy.
And let's hold on to that thought because we need to talk about that in a minute. But go ahead.
So if I wanted to buy a villa in Italy, let's say I lived in London and I wanted to go to Italy and buy a villa, if I take a covered wagon with gold, some bandits can prick me and they can get the gold, which is why we ended up, at least from my understanding, with a derivative system, gold-backed certificates, right? And so how do we scale the global economy or maintain global commerce like we have today with a physical commodity like gold? And I think Bitcoin is solving that problem, where you don't need that derivative system the same way that you do with gold for global commerce.
Well, I can see validity in what it is that you're saying, but I would also say that there are ways to manage that wealth, because I do travel and I don't take a very expensive coin, honestly, with me when I travel, but I can take a coin that can hold many, many millions of dollars. Not that I put any value in dollars, because I really don't. I'm sure I think differently about money than anybody else you're ever going to talk to because of where I live my life. But I travel with this all the time, all over the world, and nobody ever asks me about it. So this is universal money, because I can go to Italy if I want to buy that villa there, and I can simply convert this into whatever the currency is. So I see a place for both. I'm not saying one or the other, but I am saying that we have to be smart about it, because I guess where I don't necessarily agree with you in his level of the ability not to manipulate it. Okay. That's really where the utility issue for me is kind of huge.
In what sense?
Well, I don't see, like, I can easily see the utility in this, right?
So you mean
Because
like,
again, it holds the energy and you use it all over the place.
Yeah.
Whereas to your earlier point, this is in one place. So as long as that demand does not break down, you're okay. But I guess where I'm having a challenge is what else can you convert this into? Because its volatility is pretty extreme, right?
Yeah. On average to the upside, but yes.
Well, overall, because my feeling always was that this is a Trojan horse, right? I do not think
from the powers that be into the public.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I read the 1996 NSA white paper on how to create a mint. And I read the peer review smart paper on smart contracts. And it's awful familiar. So when this came out, I didn't read it before it came out. I'll be honest with you. It wasn't on my radar, but I did read it shortly after it came out. And I just don't think that it's a coincidence that it happened to come out on January of 2009, and quantitative easing, which is just massive free money, came out in March of 2009.
Okay.
And I started watching it in 2000, and I think it was 10. It was pretty early in the game.
Yeah.
And I went, So I see the need for it. I see the need for a new system. And so the battle is, whatever that new system is, I want a component of sound money in it.
100%.
So it's going to be digital, 40%. Doesn't have to be 100%, 40%, but also it must be redeemable. In other words, I want the public to take their power back. And the only way that you can take your power back is if you actually have a tool, because if you think voting is it, there's this bridge in Brooklyn.
Yeah, vote harder.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean anything. But if you have a tool that will enable you to hold your politicians that you elected toes to the fire, that's what I want. That's what I'm fighting for. And I got to be honest with you, in all the years that I have been doing this, I'm getting chills. This is the absolute best opportunity that I've seen to potentially make that happen. And so, yeah, and President Trump is part of that. He is a disruptor. That's what he is. That's what his job is. And he's been known to accept gold for payment of leases and different things. So he is he is definitely a crypto advocate, but he's also a gold advocate. So that's what our fight is. That's why we have those quarter cards to get sound money. Hold it, right? It feels different. It feels completely different in your hand when you hold fake money and you hold sound money. So the other challenge, if Bitcoin or any of them are used in one place, if that demand goes away, what happens? Whereas this is used in every place. So a properly diversified portfolio identifies.
Not of stocks and bonds.
Well, look, I'm an ex-stockbroker and I don't own any of that garbage because I am so crystal clear on what is happening to the underlying currency. That has certainly not always been true. And it certainly will not always be true into the future. But this is where I've lived my life. And I would say the same thing with Bitcoin. You know, I mean, people could say, well, you're stupid. You've been watching it since $7 and look at it now. But again, I probably think differently about money than anybody else you will ever talk to. And if there's what's the real trend? And I guess this is my point. What is the real trend? It's not Bitcoin going up. It's not stocks going up. It's not real estate going up. It's the dollar losing all of its purchasing power. That's the real trend. And like you said, no, you don't really go on the Fred very often or ever. Well, then other than inflation, and you certainly know that it costs you more and more dollars to buy the same goods and services that you've been buying right along.
They're actually becoming much more abundant. Goods and services, the supply of goods and services is increasing. And in gold terms, it's going down in value significantly over the last 100 years, but it's going up denominated in dollars. Clearly a problem.
That is the problem. That is the whole entire problem, is that there's no purchasing power left in the currency. And the only thing that is holding it together, and this is also what supports everything else, is confidence, public confidence.